The world woke to silence. On that morning, every satellite link, every off-world transmission, and every single whisper from the stars was gone. Earth's colonies on Mars, the Moon, and Titan, silent. The great orbital relays above the planet flickered, their signals severed as if a knife had cut through them. At first, people thought it was a glitch, a solar storm, a system fault. But as the minutes stretched into hours and then into a full day, fear spread. Humanity, so proud of its connection to the stars, now felt locked inside its own cage. In the United Nations command bunker under Geneva, panic filled the air. Generals, scientists, and politicians shouted over one another, "They've cut us off," one officer barked. "Every wormhole gate, every hyperlane blocked. No ships in, no ships out. Impossible," muttered a scientist, her voice trembling. "That would require fleets stationed at every point of entry. No species has the numbers for that," another voice cut in, harsh and certain. "The Council does. The Alien Council. The great galactic rulers. For centuries, they had treated Earth as an upstart child, useful for trade, amusing for observation, but never worthy of respect. Humanity had clawed its way to the stars without their help, and the Council never forgave that. Now, their answer was silence. Above Earth's orbit, massive shadows began to appear. First one, then 10, then dozens. Alien warships, sleek and gleaming, spread across the skies. They positioned themselves at every gate, every entry route, every escape corridor. Their hulls glowed with strange lights, weapons humming like predators ready to strike. Billions of humans watched live feeds from ground-based telescopes. Cities froze. In New York, traffic halted as people stared at giant screens, showing alien ships eclipsing the stars. In Tokyo, children pointed upward as glowing shapes cut across the night. In Lagos, Cairo, Berlin, Moscow, everywhere, people understood one truth: Earth was under siege. The Council had not spoken yet, but the silence was louder than any threat. Inside the bunker, Earth's president slammed her fist on the table. "Why? Why cut us off now?" A general answered grimly. "Because they fear us," the scientist shook her head. "No, because they want to break us." Hours dragged. Hunger for answers turned to dread. Finally, as night fell across half the planet, the skies themselves came alive. A colossal hologram erupted over every major city. It towered above skyscrapers, shimmering with alien light. The face that formed was no human. It was tall, insectoid, with eyes like burning amber. Mandibles clacked as it spoke, the words translated into every human tongue at once. "People of Earth," the voice boomed, cold and merciless. "You have grown too bold, too restless, too dangerous." Citizens screamed, cried, or simply froze as the alien's words thundered across continents. "You build fleets without permission. You defy our laws. You expand into the stars without restraint. This cannot continue." The hologram shifted. Behind the alien speaker, the vast chamber of the Council was revealed. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in thrones of stone and steel, watching with unblinking eyes. Many sneered. Some laughed. A few simply glared as if Earth was an insect on their table. The speaker continued, "From this day forth you are isolated. No trade, no travel. No colony will be allowed to send aid. Earth will consume only what it has. If you resist, we will strike. Submit and we may allow you to live." The hologram ended. Darkness returned. Silence returned. Then the world erupted in chaos. Riots broke out in cities. People screamed about starvation, about losing their colonies, about never seeing their families again. Leaders tried to calm them, but their own hands shook. Yet in the bunker beneath Geneva, one man did not panic. He sat in the shadows, away from the shouting generals and frightened politicians. His eyes were calm, steady, almost cold. He whispered a single sentence to himself. "They think we are weak." Nobody noticed him stand. Nobody saw the steel in his posture, or the strange badge on his chest that no one else wore. As the Council's warships tightened their grip on Earth, as billions of humans wept and cursed, the man walked deeper into the bunker. Past sealed doors, past armed guards who saluted without hesitation. He entered a chamber where ancient machines hummed, hidden for decades. Inside, walls of black steel rose high, lined with weapons humanity had sworn never to use. At the center stood a great sealed vault. On its surface were carved only two words: Project War God. The man placed his hand on the scanner. The vault hissed. Gears unlocked. Lights flared alive for the first time in years. He looked into the dark chamber beyond and spoke softly, almost like a prayer. Humanity will not kneel. Not now. Not ever. The vault door began to open. The sky was no longer Earth's own. For 3 straight days, alien warships hung over the planet like steel predators. Their shadows cut across oceans. Their weapons glowed like suns held at bay. The blockade was absolute. Not a single shuttle could launch. Not a single satellite could send a signal. Humanity was caged, but the Council had not finished its message. On the 4th day, the holograms returned. They blazed over every capital, every crowded street, every city that still clung to hope. The alien voice was colder now, sharper, like a knife pressing against humanity's throat. People of Earth, you have defied us for the last time. Your fleets are hidden, your soldiers restless, your colonies unruly. You will submit. You will obey. The alien counselor's mandibles clicked as he raised one long claw. Behind him, the chamber of the alien council shimmered into view again. Hundreds of alien rulers sitting in judgment, their faces lit with cruel delight. Here are our terms, the voice continued. Half of your resources, your metals, your fuel, your food, will be surrendered to the council every cycle. Half of your factories will serve our fleets. Half of your children will serve as tribute. The words echoed like thunder. On Earth, billions gasped. Half their children? Half their world. The alien leaned closer, his burning amber eyes filling the hologram sky. Refuse, and your species will starve in its cage. Resist, and Earth itself will burn. The hologram vanished. For a long moment, the world held its breath. Then chaos exploded. In New Delhi, mobs tore through streets screaming that humanity was doomed. In London, protests raged as citizens demanded surrender. In São Paulo, soldiers marched to keep order as riots spread. Half the planet begged for survival. The other half demanded defiance. In the Geneva bunker, Earth's leaders argued until their voices broke. "We cannot fight them," shouted one minister. "Their fleets blot out the stars. Surrender is survival, no." A general roared. "Surrender is extinction. We give them our children. There will be no humanity left." The president stood in silence. She knew both voices carried truth. To surrender meant slavery. To resist meant war against a galaxy. Her eyes shifted to the shadows, where the man from before now stood, the one who had opened the sealed vault. He was silent, watchful, his presence radiating calm, while the room shook with fear. Finally she addressed him. "You've been waiting for this, haven't you?" The man stepped forward. His armor glinted under the bunker lights, black steel traced with silver veins. On his chest was a symbol no one else dared wear, an ancient insignia of Earth's forbidden project. "They call me the War God," he said simply. "I was created for this very moment." The room fell silent. Generals, ministers, scientists, all stared at him as if a ghost had walked among them. Many had heard whispers of the War God project, but few believed it was real. A weapon hidden in human flesh. A commander built not just to fight, but to win. The War God looked around the room, his voice steady, low and unshaken. "The alien council believes we are broken. They think silence and threats will make us kneel. They are wrong. Humanity has hidden its strength. Now it will rise." He gestured to a giant display on the wall. It flickered alive, showing maps of oceans, mountains, deserts. Each map pulsed with hidden signals. Beneath the Atlantic lie fleets of warships, sleeping for decades. Inside the Andes are shipyards the Council never discovered. Buried under the Sahara, cannons that can pierce orbit itself. They thought we were weak because we hid them. They will learn otherwise. Gasps filled the chamber. Even the president's eyes widened. "You mean—" "Yes," the War God said, cutting her off. "Humanity has weapons enough to challenge their fleets. Not to win easily, but to bleed them. To show them Earth will not be prey, the president's voice trembled. And if we resist, if we defy their tribute demand, the war god's expression hardened. Then the galaxy will remember the day humanity unleashed its wrath. Outside, in the night sky, the alien fleet shifted. One of their dreadnoughts descended lower, casting a burning red light over half a continent. Its massive cannons glowed as if preparing to fire. The aliens were done waiting. Inside the bunker, alarms screamed. Operators shouted warnings. "Energy build-up!" "They're charging weapons." Panic erupted in the chamber. Ministers begged to surrender. Generals barked orders that no one obeyed. But the war god stood tall, calm against the storm. He pressed a command pad on his wrist. Across the world, deep below oceans and mountains, steel leviathans stirred. Hidden bays opened. Engines older than a generation roared alive. From the depths of the Atlantic, the first human warship began to rise, colossal, bristling with cannons, its hull shining as waves crashed from its sides. In silence it clawed upward, ready to face the stars. The president stared at the screen, unable to breathe. "What have we done?" she whispered. The war god turned to her. "Its eyes like steel. "We have chosen," he said, and as the alien dreadnought's weapons lit the sky, the first of Earth's hidden fleet broke the surface of the sea, water cascading off its armored hull. The war for humanity's survival had begun. The oceans split apart. The first of Earth's hidden warships, a steel behemoth longer than a city, clawed its way out of the Atlantic. Waves crashed against its armored hull as its engines roared like thunder. Across the world, humans stopped in their tracks. Giant screens filled with the sight. Humanity's warships rising from the deep. In New York, crowds cheered through their tears. In Beijing, children pointed at the sky with awe. In Nairobi, soldiers saluted screens, showing the awakening of Earth's hidden fleet. The Council had demanded half of Earth's children. Instead, Earth answered with fire. Inside the Geneva bunker, alarms still screamed. The alien dreadnought above Earth's orbit charged its cannons, each weapon large enough to split continents. Its glow bathed the world in blood-red light. The president stared at the rising warship on the screen. Can it stand against that monster in orbit? The war god did not blink. It will not stand alone. He pressed his wrist pad. Across the planet, the sleeping war machine of humanity stirred. From under the Himalayas, hangars cracked open, releasing strike craft armed with railguns. From deep caverns in Africa, silos rose, their warheads primed. From beneath the Pacific, more colossal warships lifted, water cascading from their steel backs like falling mountains. For decades, these ships had been myths, rumors whispered among soldiers. Now the world watched as they emerged, real and terrible, forged in secret to face the Council's day of judgment, Project War. God was never a legend, the man said. His voice was calm, but there was iron in it. It was preparation. The president turned to him sharply. "You knew this would come?" The war god's expression hardened. "The Council always feared us. They feared that one day humans would rise too far, too fast. They would never let us live free. This day was inevitable." The control room shook as the alien dreadnought fired its first warning shot. A beam of pure energy seared the sky, missing Earth by mere kilometers, boiling a slice of the upper atmosphere. Every window on the planet glowed white. Billions of humans screamed, but the war god only smiled. "Now it begins." Above Earth, the alien commanders laughed. "Pathetic!" hissed one insectoid admiral, his mandibles clattering. "They think their primitive ships will change fate." Another, a scaled warlord with eyes like molten gold, bared his teeth. "Let them rise. It will make their fall sweeter." The dreadnought's cannons charged again. Far below, the war god stepped forward to a command podium. The room hushed, every human leader watching. He tapped into the planet-wide broadcast system. His face filled every screen on Earth. His voice thundered into every city, every home. "Humans of Earth, the Council thinks we are prey. They think we will kneel, hand over our children, our future. They are wrong. Today we stand together. Today we rise. Crowds across Earth erupted, their fear turning to fire. For the first time in days, the people had hope. The war god raised one fist. Humanity does not bow. Humanity fights. He slammed the command pad. At once, Earth's hidden fleets came alive. Dozens of warships broke the ocean's surface, their cannons gleaming. Squadrons of strike craft swarmed upward, trailing contrails across the sky. Orbital cannons hidden in mountains fired their first shots, beams of light stabbing into the heavens. One blast struck the alien dreadnought's shields, making its armor flare. Alien admirals froze. Impossible. They have orbital weapons. Another barrage followed, smashing against the blockade ships. One alien cruiser exploded in a fireball, its wreckage burning into Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. For the first time, the Council's blockade faltered. Inside the bunker, officers cheered as alien ships burned. But the war god remained calm, his eyes fixed on the display. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The Council will not back down. They will send more, much more." The president's voice was tense. "Then what do we do?" The war god turned to her, his face lit by the glow of the battle above. "We fight harder. And we strike first." Above Earth, the alien dreadnought unleashed its fury. A storm of plasma tore into the skies, vaporizing 2 human strike craft instantly. The sheer firepower dwarfed anything Earth had seen. Human crews cried out as their shields struggled to hold. The war god's warship, largest of the fleet, broke free from the ocean and rose into the heavens. Its hull was plated with next-generation alloys, bristling with rail cannons and missile batteries. As it climbed, its engines roared so loudly that people on coastlines fell to their knees in awe. Inside its command deck, the war god stood at the helm. Soldiers saluted as he entered. He nodded once, then gave his order, "Target the dreadnought." The ship's railguns rotated upward. Tremors shook the vessel as energy built. In orbit, the alien commander sneered. "They dare challenge us?" The war god's eyes narrowed. "Fire!" The railguns erupted. Hypersonic slugs tore through the sky, punching straight into the alien dreadnought's shields. The barrier flared, cracked, and then shattered in a blinding explosion. The dreadnought reeled. Alarms screamed inside the alien bridge. Commanders shouted in panic, "Shields failing!" Their weapons, how? But the war god was not finished. "All batteries," he commanded. "Full salvo!" Missiles streaked upward. Cannons thundered. Beams pierced the void. The human warship unleashed its fury, hammering the alien dreadnought again and again. The massive ship groaned as its armor buckled, its glow dimmed. For the first time, the invincible alien fleet looked vulnerable. The galaxy watched in shock. Inside the council chambers, silence reigned. The delegates stared in disbelief as live feeds showed Earth's primitive world, tearing holes in their blockade. One counselor whispered, horrified, "They were not supposed to have this power." Another snarled, "Then we will crush them. We will send the Titan." The chamber roared with agreement. Back on Earth, the war god stood tall on his bridge, the wreckage of an alien cruiser burning in orbit outside his viewport. His soldiers cheered, but his voice remained cold. This was their first strike. "Ours is yet to come." He looked out into the void, eyes like steel. "Prepare to break the blockade." The ship's engines flared, propelling it toward the heart of the alien fleet. The sky over Earth burned. Alien warships swarmed in orbit, their weapons glowing as they tightened the noose. The dreadnought that had threatened Earth now reeled, its shields broken, its armor cracked from the war god's first barrage. Humanity had drawn blood, but the Council's fleets were vast. For every alien cruiser destroyed, 10 more lurked in the void. In the Geneva bunker, commanders shouted into comms, struggling to track the chaos. On giant screens, the battle above filled with fire and wreckage. Human strikecraft darted between alien beams. Railguns spat thunder. Missiles blazed upward. The president leaned forward, her voice trembling. "Can we hold?" The war god stood calm on his flagship, orbit climbing higher. His voice came through the comms like iron. "We do not hold. We strike." On his command, Earth's warships surged upward. Rising from oceans, mountains, and hidden bases, they ignited their engines and roared into orbit. The world itself seemed to throw its fleets at the stars. The alien blockade closed in to crush them. The first clash came fast. Human warships bristling with cannons locked onto alien destroyers. The void erupted with fire. Alien plasma beams cut across space like burning scythes. Human railguns answered with hypersonic fury. One human frigate was sliced in half, its crew screaming into silence. But in return, an alien cruiser exploded, its shattered hull tumbling into the atmosphere, burning across the skies like a cursed star. People on Earth cheered as the wreckage lit the night. The war god stood at the helm of his flagship, the largest warship humanity had ever built. His crew waited on edge. He raised one hand. Forward batteries. Target their command ships. Yes, Commander? His warship roared. Railguns fired in perfect sequence, shells screaming through space. Alien commanders shouted as their vessels shook under the assault. One alien battleship's shields flickered, then failed, its body tearing apart under the relentless human barrage. Cheers erupted on the bridge. The war god only narrowed his eyes. This is only the opening act. Inside the alien council chambers, panic spread. Holograms of the battle played before them. Delegates hissed, growled, or muttered in disbelief. They should be crumbling. One reptilian shouted, "They were primitives." Another cried, "Their weapons should be useless." But one elder alien leaned forward, his cold eyes unblinking. "Do not underestimate them," he rasped. Humans are dangerous when cornered. Above Earth, the battle grew brutal. Alien swarms pressed hard, their numbers overwhelming. Human ships fought like wolves, striking fast, retreating, striking again. A destroyer named Valiant rammed an alien cruiser head-on, both ships shattering in a fireball that shook orbit. From the ground, billions of humans watched the sky. Streaks of fire fell as wreckage rained through the atmosphere. Children clutched their parents. Soldiers saluted burning trails of sacrifice. Humanity's war had begun for all to see. Inside his flagship, the war god stood unmoved as losses mounted. His calm steadied his crew. "Commander," an officer cried, "we've broken part of their line. There's a gap." The war god's eyes flashed. "Then we widen it." His warship surged forward, engines flaring brighter than suns. It cut into the heart of the alien blockade, cannons unleashing devastation. Human strikecraft followed, diving through the gap with fearless precision. Alien commanders shouted in rage, "Stop them! Close the line!" But humanity pressed harder. One by one alien warships fell. The void filled with wreckage. The blockade, once unbreakable, now trembled. The president in Geneva clutched the table as reports streamed in. "They're breaking through." A general gasped, "By God, they're winning." But the war god's voice came through the comms, steady as stone. "No, we are only surviving. The true war has not yet begun." And then the stars darkened. A shadow eclipsed the battlefield, vast beyond imagination. Every human officer froze as sensors screamed warnings. The alien fleet pulled back slightly, their formation shifting. Something enormous was entering the system. On the horizon, it appeared, a warship so massive it blotted out constellations. Its hull stretched for kilometers, bristling with weapons that dwarfed entire cities. Its engines glowed like burning suns. The alien dreadnoughts looked small beside it. The human fleet seemed like insects against a god. Gasps filled the human bridge. Soldiers whispered in terror. What is that?" The war god's jaw tightened. His voice dropped to a cold whisper. "That," he said, "is their Titan." On every screen across Earth, people saw it, the Titan-class warship, the pride of the alien council. Its cannons glowed, charging to unleash annihilation. The war god's crew looked to him, their faces pale. "Commander, orders?" He stared at the Titan, unshaken. His words cut through the fear. "Ready all weapons." The bridge fell silent. Every soldier knew. Humanity's greatest trial had just arrived. The Titan aimed its colossal guns at Earth. The Titan-class warship loomed over Earth like a new moon. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in weapons that dwarfed cities. Entire fleets could fit inside its docking bays. When it arrived, even the alien dreadnoughts scattered, moving aside like servants before a king. The people of Earth froze in terror. Crowds in every city looked up at giant screens, watching the Titan blot out constellations. Its cannons glowed with a light so bright it lit the night sky red. Inside his flagship, the war god watched with cold eyes. Around him, officers whispered, their voices trembling. "It's bigger than anything we've ever seen. We can't fight that. It's impossible. It could destroy Earth in a single volley." But the war god's voice cut through their fear like steel. "Everything bleeds, even Titans." In the alien council chamber, silence fell as the holograms of the Titan filled the air. Alien delegates leaned forward in satisfaction. Some hissed with triumph, others laughed with cruel delight. "Finally," one growled, its scaled body twitching with hunger. "Now the humans will kneel. They have fought well," an insectoid admiral admitted grudgingly, his mandibles clicking. "But their defiance ends here. None stand before a Titan." The elder counselor, who had warned against underestimating humanity, only narrowed his eyes. He did not speak. Above Earth, the Titan's cannons ignited. Energy swirled inside their barrels, enough to shatter mountains. Humanity's fleet braced for annihilation, but the war god stepped forward on the command deck. His voice was calm, steady, commanding. "All ships, formation Delta, focus fire on the escort fleet. Ignore the Titan for now," the crew obeyed. Human warships shifted into tight packs, covering one another, striking in sudden bursts. Together they hit alien cruisers with perfect precision. One alien destroyer went up in flames. Another fell to Earth's gravity, burning as it entered the atmosphere. Humanity's fleet cut through the blockade like blades. The Titan loomed, but the war god knew the truth. It was too massive to move quickly. Its escorts were the real threat. "Keep the Titan in your eyes," he ordered, "but break their wall first." From Earth's surface, people roared as alien ships fell burning from the sky. For the first time in history, humanity was not simply surviving the Council's wrath, they were breaking the Council's fleets. Inside the alien command ships, panic spread. They are not retreating. They strike as if they have no fear. "This is madness," one alien admiral hissed. "Madness? No, this is humanity." In the Geneva bunker, generals clutched reports with shaking hands. They're breaking through. They're actually breaking the blockade." The president stared in awe. "Against the council. How is this possible?" The answer came as the war god's voice rang through comms, steady and unyielding. "Because humans do not bow. We fight until the void itself remembers our name." The alien council chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, furious, terrified. "This cannot be! They were primitives. They should not have these weapons." Holograms showed human fleets pressing deeper into orbit, carving a path through alien ships. For the first time in generations, the Council's fleets were losing ground to an inferior species. The elder counselor finally spoke. His voice was low, cold, cutting through the chamber like a blade. "You see now. The humans are not prey, they are predators. Cornered, they bare their teeth. And when they do, even Titans bleed." Above Earth, the Titan finally fired. A beam of energy tore across the void, striking a human cruiser. The ship vanished in white fire, its crew gone in an instant. Another volley followed, ripping through 2 more human vessels. Humanity cheered, but their joy turned to screams as their own ships fell. The war god did not flinch. He watched the Titan's massive weapons cycle again, readying to fire once more. His jaw tightened. "Keep pressing forward," he ordered. "If we hesitate, we die." His flagship surged through debris fields, cannons blasting. Human strike craft swarmed like hornets, striking at weak points in alien ships, retreating before counterfire. Alien commanders shouted in disbelief. Their tactics, their precision. "This is not chance." "No," the war god said coldly, as if he had heard them. "This is design. This is war." The human fleet pushed harder, driving into the blockade's center. Alien ships crumbled one by one. For every human ship lost, 3 alien vessels followed. The void lit with fire, a storm of death and defiance. On Earth, people screamed, prayed, cheered, every city alive with the sight of their species defying the galaxy. Children watched wide-eyed, knowing history was being written before their eyes. But victory came at a price. Human ships burned. Crews died by the thousands. The Titan's guns ripped holes through the void, leaving wreckage behind. Yet still, the war god pressed forward. His flagship tore apart another alien battleship, its cannons roaring like thunder. Humanity was bleeding, but the alien blockade was shattering. In the alien council chamber, fury gave way to fear. Delegates shouted in panic, "If they break the blockade, they will reach our colonies. They will bring war to us." The chamber roared with chaos. At last, the council's leader rose from his throne, his amber eyes burning. His voice silenced all. "Then unleash it," he commanded. "Send the Titan to full power, and call the reserve fleets. If humanity wants war, then we will give them extinction." Above Earth, the Titan shifted. Its colossal hull opened, revealing hidden weapons. Vast cannons, larger than mountains, emerged from its sides. Energy pulsed brighter than suns. The war god's eyes narrowed. They're preparing their true strike. On Earth, the skies glowed red as the Titan's cannons charged. The war god's voice thundered across his fleet. "All ships, brace for the storm." The void itself seemed to tremble. Humanity's greatest trial was about to begin. The Titan's cannons glowed brighter than any sun. From Earth's surface, people fell to their knees, blinded by the red fire stretching across the heavens. Skyscraper windows shattered from the energy discharge, rumbling above the atmosphere. To billions watching on screens, the void itself looked like it was splitting apart. Human fleets braced. Every captain, every crew member, every soldier knew what was coming. Then the Titan fired. A beam wider than a city tore through space. It cut across the void like the blade of a god. 1, 2, 3 human ships evaporated in silence, turned into dust before their crews could even scream. Entire formations disappeared in a single flash. The war god stood firm on his flagship's command deck. Officers shouted warnings, alarms blared, but his voice was cold and steady. "Hold the line." Another volley struck. This time, a human battleship tried to block the blast. Its shields burned white before collapsing. The ship was split in two, its wreckage tumbling into Earth's gravity. Crowds on the ground screamed as fire streaked across the night sky. Still, the war god did not flinch. "Every weapon has a limit," he said. "Find it!" In the alien council chamber, silence hung heavy. The delegates watched the Titan's firestorm with smug pride. "Humanity burns," hissed a reptilian counselor. "This is the end." But the elder counselor leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "Do you not see? They have not broken. Even as the Titan devours their fleets, they do not run. They push forward. The other delegates ignored him. They saw only the Titan's dominance, blind to the quiet fury still building in humanity's ranks. Back in orbit, human ships weaved between beams of annihilation. Entire squadrons sacrificed themselves, drawing the Titan's fire to give others a chance to strike. A human cruiser slammed full throttle into an alien destroyer, tearing both apart. Strike craft swarmed like insects, stinging at the Titan's surface. Tiny explosions dotted its massive hull, sparks against a mountain. "Minimal damage," an officer reported. The war god's eyes narrowed. "Then make it more than minimal." He issued the order that would define the battle. "All ships converge on the Titan. Target its weapon arrays." "We cut the beast's claws first." The fleet moved as one. Dozens of ships surged toward the Titan, ignoring escorts, ignoring casualties. Plasma fire rained against its colossal hull. Missile barrages detonated against shield barriers the size of continents. The Titan turned slowly, trying to swat the humans like flies. Its massive cannons shifted, unleashing another storm. A beam vaporized 5 destroyers in a single strike. Another beam sliced across a carrier, ripping it apart. Yet still, the humans pressed forward, carving black scars into the Titan's armor. Inside the flagship, the war god clenched the edge of the command table. His jaw was iron. Every sacrifice buys us one more strike. One more chance. Do not relent. On Earth, people watched in horror and awe. Families in bunkers gripped each other's hands. Soldiers in trenches saluted the skies. Children whispered prayers. For the first time in history, humanity was not cowering. They were standing against something the galaxy itself feared. In the alien council chamber, the smug pride began to falter. The Titan's surface flickered with explosions. Its shields, once flawless, showed cracks under relentless human fire. "This is not possible," one alien admiral hissed. "They throw their lives away," another snapped. "They are not logical." The elder counselor spoke again, his voice heavy with grim certainty. "They are human. Logic has no power over them when their survival is at stake." On the Titan, alien commanders scowled as alarms rang. One barked orders in panic: concentrate fire on their flagship. Break their spirit. The Titan's largest cannon turned, locking onto the war god's ship. Every sensor in the fleet lit red. Officers screamed warnings. "They're targeting us." The war god did not move. He only gave a single command: all power to shields. Brace. The Titan fired. A beam of impossible energy struck the flagship dead center. The ship shook, metal groaning, shields tearing apart like paper. Crew members were thrown against walls. Fires erupted across the deck. For a moment, silence followed. Smoke filled the command center. Officers struggled to their feet. Then a voice came through the static. "The war god, unbroken. Status, shields down to 12%. An officer gasped. "One more hit and—" The war god's voice cut her off. "Then we make sure they don't fire again." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare the Helios Lance." The crew froze. Eyes widened. The Helios Lance was humanity's most secret weapon, a prototype energy cannon hidden within the flagship. Firing it would drain the ship dry, leaving them defenseless. "Sir, if we fire, we won't have power left for shields or engines." The war god's voice was steel. "If we hesitate, Earth dies. Charge it!" As the flagship's core hummed with deadly power, the war god stared at the Titan through the viewport. His voice echoed across the fleet. "This is humanity's moment. Stand with me." In the alien council chamber, alarms shrieked across the Titan's hologram. The counselors stared in shock as the human flagship's core began to blaze with light. "What are they doing? No weapon should generate that output. They'll destroy themselves." The elder counselor rose slowly. His voice was quiet, but every word carried weight. They would rather burn the heavens than kneel. The Titan's cannons glowed again, charging for another devastating strike. The human flagship's Helios Lance roared with power, building to a blinding crescendo. Both weapons locked on each other. The void between them trembled, and then the void was silent. Yet all of humanity held its breath. Above Earth, the Titan's cannons glowed like miniature suns. At the same time, the war god's flagship pulsed with the light of the Helios Lance. Two Titans, one forged by the alien council, one carried by humanity's desperation, faced each other across the black sea of stars. On Earth's surface, people watched from bunkers, rooftops, and shattered cities. Billions of eyes fixed on the sky, knowing the next moment could decide the fate of their world. The Titan fired first. A beam wider than a continent tore through space, ripping through debris, vaporizing wreckage, carving a line of death straight for the war god's ship. "Fire!" The war god commanded. The Helios Lance roared. A spear of white energy, brighter than anything humanity had ever created, lanced across the void. It cut against the Titan's beam head-on. For a heartbeat, the two powers met, colliding in silence. Then the universe screamed. The collision was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Energy flared out in waves, blinding sensors, tearing through both fleets. Dozens of alien ships were vaporized instantly. Human vessels were shredded by shockwaves, thrown spinning into the void. Earth's atmosphere rippled. Oceans trembled. Cities shook as if the planet itself was trying to tear apart. In space, the two beams clashed, neither yielding. The Titan's power pressed forward, overwhelming, crushing. The Helios Lance shrieked in protest, its energy core burning beyond safe limits. Sparks rained across the human flagship as systems failed one by one, core temperature rising beyond maximum. Shields gone. "We can't hold this much longer." The war god's voice was cold, unyielding. "We will hold." On the Titan, alien commanders grinned with sharp teeth. Their weapon weakens. The humans burn themselves alive. End them. But as the Titan's beam pressed forward, cracks began to form across its colossal hull. Armor plates buckled, glowing red. The lance had pierced through its shields, something no weapon had done in centuries. On the alien council chamber floor, chaos erupted. Delegates screamed at the holograms. "The Titan bleeds. This cannot be. They are primitives. How can they do this?" The elder counselor simply whispered, "Because they choose death over chains." Inside the human flagship, alarms blared. Consoles exploded. Crew collapsed, smoke choking the command deck. The ship shook like a dying beast, Helios core at critical. "If we keep firing, the war god's voice thundered above the panic. "Then let us burn brighter than any sun." "Maintain the beam." The crew obeyed, tears in their eyes, hands steady. If this was humanity's last moment, they would make it one the galaxy would never forget. The Helios lance screamed, its power ripping apart the Titan's main cannon. One by one, the alien weapon arrays overloaded, exploding in brilliant flashes across its surface. The Titan shuddered. Its beam flickered. For the first time, the invincible warship faltered. On Earth, crowds erupted. Cheers echoed in bunkers. Tears flowed down faces. Children screamed humanity's name. The war god's legend grew with every heartbeat. "We can do it. We're breaking the Titan. We're not prey. We are human." But the victory came at a cost. The flagship's core overloaded. "System shut down." The Helios lance sputtered, its blinding light dimming. "Core collapse imminent. If we don't shut it down, the ship will detonate." The war god's jaw tightened. His eyes never left the Titan, still smoldering, still deadly. "Keep firing." The Helios lance fired one last desperate surge. The beam shot straight through the Titan's hull, piercing deep into its heart. The colossal ship convulsed, its armored skin tearing open in fire. Alien commanders screamed. Systems failed. Explosions rocked its decks. The Titan was wounded, but it did not die. In the alien council chamber, silence fell. The delegates stared at the hologram of the Titan, wounded but alive. Their pride cracked, their fear rising. One snarled, "They crippled our Titan with one ship." Another whispered, "If they can wound it, they can kill it." The leader of the council slammed his clawed hand down. His voice shook the chamber, then summoned the second Titan and unleashed the Scourge fleet. "If humanity desires to test us, then let them drown in fire." In orbit, the battlefield burned. The first Titan drifted, wounded but still armed. Alien reinforcements blinked into space, vast fleets darkening the stars. Inside his crippled flagship, the war god rose to his feet, smoke curling around him. His uniform was scorched, his ship dying, but his voice was calm, iron. "Transmit this to all surviving ships. Humanity has drawn blood from a Titan. Now, we finish the kill." But before the message could send, alarms screamed louder than ever. Sensors detected a second colossal object arriving, another Titan, even larger. The war god's eyes narrowed. His fleet was broken, his flagship barely alive. Billions on Earth watched in frozen terror as a new shadow swallowed the stars. And above them, two Titans now loomed. The war god's lips curled into a grim smile. "Good, now we see how gods bleed." The sky above Earth turned black. Two Titans now loomed, so massive they eclipsed entire constellations. One was wounded, its hull burning with scars left by the Helios lance. The other was fresh, its colossal weapons glowing, its shadow swallowing the light of distant stars. On the ground, billions stared upward in horror. Entire cities fell into silence. Humanity had wounded a god, and in response the galaxy had sent two. Inside the crippled flagship, alarms wailed. Power flickered. The crew struggled to hold their stations. Smoke curled across the deck. Every screen showed the same truth. They were hopelessly outnumbered, but the war god stood tall, his eyes burning with defiance. "Transmit to all ships," he ordered. "This is not the end. This is the moment. 2 titans stand before us. That means 2 throats to cut." The hooks struck like fire across every comm. Surviving human captains, their ships battered and bleeding, responded with steel in their voices. For Earth. For humanity. For the war god. The fleet shifted, broken ships moving back into formation. Fighters surged from hangars like swarms of hornets. Humanity's banner still burned in the void. In the alien council chamber, the delegates leaned forward, their eyes glittering with hunger. "Crush them," one hissed. "Burn Earth to ash. End this species." But the elder counselor, his face pale, whispered words that none wished to hear. "You still do not understand. They know they are doomed. And yet they fight. That is what makes them dangerous." The second Titan fired first. A beam larger than the war god's flagship tore across the void. A human cruiser intercepted it, shielding the fleet with its hull. For 3 blinding seconds, its defenses held. Then it exploded, taking 10,000 souls with it. Still, the humans pressed forward. The war god's voice thundered across comms. "Every sacrifice opens the path. Focus fire on the wounded Titan. If one falls, the other will bleed with it." The fleet obeyed. Human warships swarmed the crippled Titan, hammering its cracked shields, detonating payloads against its armor. Fighters plunged into its vents, detonating from the inside. Piece by piece, the invincible giant crumbled. Alien commanders screamed on the Titan's bridge. "They tear at us like beasts. Our shields are failing." Another explosion ripped through its side, tearing open a gash the size of a city. The Titan roared in fire, but the second Titan was already upon them. Its cannons opened, annihilating 3 human destroyers in a single blast. Missiles rained across the fleet, tearing apart squadrons. The battlefield burned with light and death. Inside his dying flagship, the war god's officers turned to him. "We cannot win both. We'll be torn apart." The war god stared at the battlefield, silent. Then his gaze fell on the reactor core display. A plan began to form. "No," he said softly. "We don't win by surviving. We win by making sure they die with us." He ordered the impossible. "All remaining ships, listen well. The Helios Lance cannot fire again. Our fleet cannot outlast them. So we will end this battle the way humanity always has, with blood, steel, and sacrifice." A heavy silence fell. Officers trembled. Captains clenched their fists. Then one by one voices answered. "Aye, sir. For Earth. For humanity." The final plan was madness. Human ships would ram the crippled Titan, detonating their cores, tearing it apart from within. At the same time, the war god's flagship, powerless, broken but still burning, would launch one last suicidal strike at the second Titan. On Earth, the transmission played to all. Civilians watched in silence, knowing what was being asked. They cried, prayed, screamed, and then stood tall, raising fists to the sky. "Do it," they whispered. "Make them remember." The attack began. Cruisers rammed into the crippled Titan's hull, detonating in firestorms. Frigates pierced its guts, exploding in chain reactions. Human fighters dove into its reactor vents, never pulling back. The Titan convulsed, its shields collapsing, its heart tearing open, and then the first Titan fell. A fireball, the size of a continent, erupted, its wreckage scattering across the void. Humanity had slain a god. The cheers on Earth shook the planet, but the second Titan remained, and it was enraged. The war god watched the colossal ship shift, its cannons locking onto Earth itself. He knew what was coming. The alien council would not just kill the fleet. They would burn the homeworld. He turned to his crew. His voice was iron final. "Set course for the Titan, maximum speed. Ready the core for detonation." The bridge fell silent. Then one by one his officers saluted. "If this is our end, sir, then let it be the greatest end of all." On Earth, billions watched as the war god's flagship, cracked, burning, half dead, surged toward the second Titan. The giant's cannons charged, ready to erase both ship and planet. The war god stood tall on the bridge, staring at the looming monster. "Transmit this," he ordered. "Let the galaxy hear it." He looked straight into the camera. His voice thundered with the weight of all humanity. "We are not prey. We are not slaves. We are humanity, and we will show you how gods die." The flagship roared forward, its reactor overloading. The Titan's cannons blazed. The battlefield went white.